Begin to think about the reality of living in unconditional love with everyone. What does that really mean? What will your lives be like? What kinds of feelings are rising within you? Create such a place in your mind for as long as you feel happy with it, giving little parties of unconditional love only. And what do you learn from them regarding your present form of consciousness? You are having to live in 2 dimensions at this very moment. You are in the world with all its mayhem and unpleasant consciousness, and also its wonderful drive towards seeking spirituality in mind, emotions, and bodies. You must choose or imagine as consistently as possible that you are within the protection and well-being of divine consciousness. This means that when you're brought into contact with unpleasant consciousness forces in life, you must continually pray to divine consciousness to help you ignore the hurt, the disgust, the rejection of offenders which your humanity, your ego would have dragged you into, and instead rise into an awareness of divine consciousness as being the only reality in your lives. And therefore you will enter and remain poised in forgiveness and a concerned caring for the erring person's well-being and happiness. I'm going to ask you again here. I want you to think about this and contemplate this. I'm going to give you a moment here. I want you to think about the reality of loving in unconditional love with everyone. What does that really mean? What will your lives be like? And it feels pretty amazing experiencing only the unconditional love. So what do you learn from this little exercise? As we begin to meditate, and I mean an emptying of yourselves, of your will to be in charge of your life, a reaching out in your minds into the vastness of space and seeking contact with that which brought you into being. As you seek, you will notice that you have divine inspiration that comes through and to you. And as it comes through and to you, and you begin to decipher what it really means, you will come to the awareness that the only thing that actually matters is essentially the project at hand. And that is creating heaven on earth, an era of peace and love. And this begins and ends in the mind. Because you know as well as I know that what you experience on the outside of you is actually coming from your internal state of consciousness, and that the only difference between the consciousness energies that you experience and that you think your thoughts with, and what you experience outwardly, what you actually visibly see, is nothing. There is actually no difference between the consciousness energies and the visible matter energies. This is why some people are so good at manipulating matter, because they know this and they deeply understand this. And they've embraced the universal laws that say what you believe in will be so. And so because they haven't put any limits on themselves, they are unlimited because of their deep knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Because they haven't put or placed any limits on themselves, there therefore are none. There's none. And so what limits have you placed or put on your own consciousness that would stop you from being able to emit unconditional love to everyone that you meet? And you might say, well, everyone that I meet doesn't do the same for me, but that actually doesn't play into it. It actually doesn't matter. Because if you were to begin to do this today, then you would see in a rather short period of time, considering the length of your life, that it completely changes around and that you no longer encounter energies that are not supportive. Because when those same type of experiences come in, you recognize them as something completely different and don't have an emotional reaction to them and realize, oh, this is for my learning. There's something I need to learn here. Or maybe there's something I need to reflect back to this person who's projecting on me because it's actually about them. I'm the teacher. Perhaps they need to see that what they're saying is actually about them. There's so many different facets to this. But the one thing that I do know is when you get to that place where you're only emitting unconditional love, it doesn't matter that somebody is projecting on you, because you can lovingly take it in, smile and laugh, and know it has nothing to do with you, and lovingly reflect it back to that person in a way that they can go, ah, okay, I see that this was about me. Okay, I get it. And in this way you become their teacher. You become helpful to them. You are only sowing seeds of more unconditional love because you're gently reflecting something back and allowing an opportunity for growth and learning, a teachable moment for this other person. And you're not taking this into your ego and saying, oh, I'm so much better than you, because I know this and you don't know this. You're doing it from a place of so much unconditional love that you want for others what you have achieved yourself, and you will stop at nothing to get it. Now, I know Christ was really irritated. He was just a human man, like he was a dude. He was a guy. And so he had human tendencies. He got pissed in the church when they were doing something he didn't like. He was flipping the tables over. At the Last Supper, he was pretty pissed that he realized, I don't know if he was so much pissed as he was annoyed and frustrated that his disciples didn't get it. It was during the Passover, and all of them were talking about blood on the doorways, blood on the things, blood on the this, blood on the that, and he realized at that very moment, right before he's headed to the cross, he realized that they didn't understand what it was that he was saying. That everything that he had told them, they kind of got it, but they kind of didn't. And he was so in despair about it, and he was ready to leave. He was ready to be gone. It was like, okay, well, I tried as good as I could, and they don't understand it. So he felt sad for them. He felt frustrated and angry that they were more concerned about themselves than they were about him and what he was about to go through, which was just displaying for him more of the human condition, which he had grown to love and accept unconditionally. Because he knew, they're not intentionally doing this. They don't even know. They don't even know. Forgive them, for they do not know what they do. But one thing that he did do amazingly well was send unconditional love. When he would have someone who was sick that came to him for healing, all that they were witness to was a display of the divine love. That is all that they were witnessing. Was the miraculous wonder, which it really is not a miracle at all. It is a law, a universal law of existence. But because he was embodying it and nobody else was, this seemed like a miraculous wonderment to them that they couldn't quite wrap their minds around. And he's like, well, I'm telling you, dudes, you guys have been following me around for hours, and I've been preaching and telling you the thing, and I'm telling you that it's about love. And I brought you out here into the nature so that I could show you that, look at the tree. The tree's not complaining about anything, and look how perfectly beautiful and wonderful it grows, and it's taken care of. Every need that it has is met. And he's like, okay, well, let's go over here. Okay, look at all these sheep here hanging out in this field. Look at them, how none of them are complaining. And yet the shepherd takes care of them. And if one somehow got lost and he was off track and he was somewhere and he started bleating out, well, the shepherd's going to leave the rest of the sheep. He's going to go over, he's going to find that one, he's going to save it, and he's going to protect it because it hears the shepherd. The shepherd hears the cries from the sheep. This is because of love. And he would go on and on and on and on and on and on about the love and the nature and all the things, because this was what he had to show them. And when he was given the parable about, sowing the seeds and doing the things, he was telling them in a deep and profound way that, when you receive some information, you're like, yeah, let's do the thing, let's go out and do it. And then pretty soon, because there was no roots in it, because it wasn't fully deeply understood and certainly wasn't embodied, the sun begins to shine, the water begins to sprout, and it's like, yay, it comes up and the thing starts to sprout, but then the sun is too much and there was no rooting, and then it withers and dies and goes away. And he was saying, but if you sow your seeds in fertile ground, they're going to last, and then you're going to be able to harvest them, and what a wonderful thing this is. And he kept giving different examples and parables and all of these different explanations to try to make the people understand in a way that he couldn't quite explain to them, because this was all new information. He didn't have a microscope to be like, hey, when I was out in the desert, I could see through the rocks, I could see through things, and what I saw appeared to be these tiny little motes, these little energetic particles, but we now know that they're called cells, right, or atoms, or whatever it is that we're looking at. But science has got a name for them. Back in the day, not only did they not have names, they couldn't see them. They didn't actually know that they existed. So what he had seen to him was extremely profound, but what he had seen, he couldn't explain it to the people in a way that they could understand. They didn't get it. They had their Roman Empire fear of damnation, dogmatic thinking, because that had been thrust on them since they were young. And I don't know about you, but anytime that somebody throws around the fear of damnation and hell, it gets a little bit risky, it gets a little bit scary. I know for myself, I had to deprogram myself, and I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I knew what I knew, and that what I had believed through my religious upbringing was wholly erroneous and wrong. I knew it. I didn't have a doubt, but I did have a doubt. And it was seated subconsciously within me, because I'm like, no, I know that this is true, but I would have this feeling, this impinging fear of, oh, but what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong and I go to hell? Like they said, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? And it was that was stunting, more of the spiritual progress. Like when I was a little kid, I could see things, I could hear things, I just knew things, and I could command things to happen at will. So this had been a part of my life. However, because of my religious upbringing, I was told that any of these weird mystical happenings, this type of things, oh, they're evil. Oh, what an evil thing that is. That's probably a demon trying to trick you. It was like, it is? Okay, because you're little and you don't know. So it was, several years into my spiritual reactivation, I would say, reawakening, that I had to do a session. I did a session with a friend. Me and her used to, shift these back and forth between each other regularly. And I was like, dude, we got to do it for religious fear, because I know that I know what I know, and I know it in so many ways, but yet I still have this feeling seated within me of fear, of like even exploring these things, there's this feeling of fear. Well, I look back, what did my dad tell me? Oh, if you even read some of these things, it could draw you away. Oh, if you listen to these things, don't even read it, don't even listen to it, it could pull you away. Well, who made that up? Somebody who read it realized, like, oh man, the things we've been thinking for the last however long, they ain't right at all. And so, their fear was the thing that they then passed on to other people. And then like, oh, you be afraid too, you be afraid too, which is the strangest thing, because over 365 times in the Bible it says, do not be afraid. So there's one for every single day of the year, but yet the church is like, oh, well, you better be afraid though. And it's like, but it says not to. And it's like, oh yeah, well, just be afraid of this and this and this and this, not those other things. Well, no, it says don't be afraid, so let's not be afraid of anything, because the only thing that is actually real is love. And Christ knew this. This is how he was able to heal. He didn't put his faith in the evil. That means he would put his belief in it. Why would you do that? What would that cause? What kind of harm would come in your life? You think about that for 1 second. What kind of harm would come in your life if you believed adamantly in the evil? You would experience it. Now let's just imagine this for a second. Let's pretend like you only believe in goodness and love. That's it. You only believe in that. Well, what does that life feel like? That's right. It feels so much higher, so much more uplifted. Why? Because this is the truth. You'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. The truth actually feels like freedom. Always feels like freedom. This is why when you believe things that are detrimental to your happiness and to your health, it's almost always because you are believing something that is untrue, and you might say, no, but I can prove it because this thing's currently happening to me right now. Well, I'm telling you, the only reason it's happening to you is because you have chosen to believe in something that has been harmful to you. It has not been helpful to you. And because you've chosen to believe in it, and you've looked at it every day, and you've even spoken about it, and you've told other people about it, and you've reinforced it, and it's grown and become exponentially bigger than when it very first started out with that little twinge of a feeling or a physical sensation or whatever it was, because you've put your faith in it and because you've believed in it, you've fed it. It is like spiritual food. And so what happens if you want something to starve? You have to stop feeding it. So if you want to starve out the evil that you've experienced in your life, or the chaos that you've experienced in your life, or the not having unconditional love that you've experienced in your life, you need to starve it out by stopping feeding it. And so what happens when an old thought comes up that's not in alignment with divine consciousness? You're like, oh, not today, man, not happening. And you throw it away, and you choose something that is truth, something that is life-giving, something that actually gives you life. And you can tell the difference because when you think it, you feel energized. You feel like, wow, man, that thought just gave me some life, because it actually did. And those other ones deplete, and they take away from your life. And so if you were to think about it, and so sometimes people get to the point where they're like, well, you know what, man, I don't even want to be here anymore, so I'm just going to think these things. Well, the reason that you feel the way that you don't want to be here anymore is because along the lines of several, let's say, weeks, months, years, you've been thinking things that have been harmful to you, and therefore they have been consistently depleting your life force energy, draining you of any kind of passion and motivation, having you completely pulled away from the purpose that you're supposed to be living. And so of course you don't want to be here, man. The only reason you came was to fulfill this purpose, and if you're not doing it, you're going to feel like crap. So what needs to change? What do you need to do? Get your thoughts in alignment with the divine love. So let's go back to the beginning. I want you to imagine a world where only unconditional love exists, and what experience comes for you when you are living on a planet with only unconditional love. And I want you to take that thought and run with it and go meditate. And sit in that for as long as you possibly can. And as you hold your mind in that unconditional love, happiness meditation, you will begin to feel and see and know and experience, maybe even hear things shifting within you. Because that is your optimal state. That is the state of truth, and that is the state of divine love and alignment. And there is nothing better than that. And every cell within your body wants to be in that state. And so it will adjust accordingly for you. So when you can take that into meditation, you can ask yourself, man, what does a world look like with unconditional love every day, always? And when you can sit there and you can experience it, and you can experience what you would do, and you can experience what would be done to you, and when you can make your meditations and you can base your meditations on that daily, you will see things in your life drastically change, because you will stop responding the old way that you did, knowing that, I was planting seeds of evil things in the past, I'm not going to do that anymore. Didn't help me. No, I only want to plant seeds of unconditional love, and pretty soon you'll begin to train your mind through practicing. Don't expect yourself to be perfect right away. But through practicing this, you're going to train your mind to do the correct thing, to do the goodness, and to bring the goodness into the world just through your thoughts. And by doing that, and by embodying that, you will be a light that is radiating out into the universe, into the world, wonderful, good things. Some people might not like it. Some people might judge it. Some people might make fun of you. Some people might do all kinds of things and talk behind your back and say this and say that, and all that is a reflection of what it is that you are, that they have not embodied, and that they know that they were supposed to do, and that they haven't been doing the work. And so it's gonna make them mad. Somebody's doing the work. I'm not doing the work. I'm still living my life. I'm doing the thing, and it's going to get to some people. And all you're going to do is not care and send more unconditional love. And at some point, maybe 20 years from now, maybe 30 years from now, maybe longer than that, maybe never, maybe sooner, who knows, they're going to remember. It's going to spark in their mind because they've never come into contact with an energy like yours before, and you're going to come to mind and they're going to think, what was up with that? And if they have any spiritual insight with them at all inside of them, they're going to contemplate it and they're going to understand, oh, you know what, I think that person was just really being themselves, and I think that they were really embodying something that I need to embody, something that I feel called to. And you will have gifted this person something and you won't even know it. And when you get to that level, you might take projections from other people, you might, but what all you are is a divine mirror for them, and all you are going to do is send them love back. And it doesn't matter what other people think. This is the thing. It actually doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter what thoughts somebody has in their head are about them. And it's about their inner world, and it's what they believe exists outside of them because of what actually exists within them. And so it has nothing to do with you. So as you continue to just shine your Christ consciousness light everywhere that it can be, and there's nowhere that it can't be, things will change and shift. So just imagine that that light comes out of your eyes, and everything that you look, it just takes a look. Everything that you look at is then imbued with that light and with that love, and expect it to change into heavenly form in front of your eyes. Expect it to happen. You're looking at a tree in the backyard, you're like, oh, that tree is going to be so much more lush and so much more beautiful. I can see it right now. And as you stare at it and you send that perfect image to it, it will receive the knowledge and the information, because there is no difference between your mind energetically, the thoughts, and what is come into fruition in visible form. There's no difference. It's all seeds. It all begins in the mind. And so you are actually literally creating heaven on earth through your mind, through your uplifted, unconditionally loving thoughts. And what a divine blessing that is here on this planet. We are truly creating an era of love and peace, and it's our ever-loving thought that is a transforming influence on this planet. I love you guys so much. I hear my daughter has just come in because there's a lot of, oh, you're home, and puppies running around, which is really fun and exciting, so I should go say hi to her. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.